Hi everybody, I just want to welcome you back to my channel again, and thank you for subscribing and liking any of the messages that I've posted that resonate with you. I'm going to talk to you today about something that came to me while I was on my walk, and also some other thoughts that have kind of been coming together for me. So I'm thinking that they will maybe shed some light for you on certain aspects of your twin flame journey. So I know that we've all heard the saying, and we understand it when you've heard people say, as above, so below. And I wanted to talk about it in regards to the twin flame journey, because what came to me is that, first of all, I think that this has been the case for you guys. I know it certainly was for me, but meeting my twin originally and recognizing that this connection was so, electrifying. It was so just to the core of my very being that it was something I desired more than anything in the entire world. I knew I would never in my life have anything that would ever equal my desire to be with him. And that the subsequent separation that follows is, that's why it's so painful, is because you just want to be together. And the union during that separation, that desire for union, is what continues to drive us. And I can undeniably say that all of the change that has happened in my life since I met my twin was coming out of that place of desire for reunion, as it pushed me into looking for answers, trying to figure out what the hell was going on. Who was this person? Why did I feel this way? Why couldn't I get over him? Why did I start seeing all of these, signs and messages, which then led me to, discovering, I just kept reading bits and pieces. At the time that I went through my early part of my awakening, I had no connections and no idea about the kinds of resources that there are for people who are on a spiritual journey, by tapping into other people's psychic abilities, through readings or through consultations or, energy healings and that kind of thing. I did this all on my own with the help of my spirit guides and my higher self, my twin's higher self. And it took me, some time down the road before I found out there, the great resources. And I did use some of those as well. So I'm not knocking that at all. But the earliest parts of my journey were me just finding bits and pieces here and there. I would read something here, I would read something there. I just spent all my time on the internet reading, and came into, the knowledge of so many things, especially about that to help me discover who I really am. In my story of awakening, I share some more of those details, so I won't go into that very much here. But it was always the drive of the desire for figuring out what this was, and really the drive for wanting to reunite, that kept me searching. So through all of that, the separation of, with me and my twin apart, is what helped me come into eventually this place of self-mastery, where I began to realize, and it took a long time, but I finally started learning that what it really is all about is knowing who you are and stepping into your complete power as a divine, spiritual being that is a piece, an essence. It's an aspect of God and or source, as what we are. So the drive for and desire for union is what pushes us forward. The part that I want to talk to about the aspect of as above, so below, is that in the twin flame journey, we will first need to come into union and clearing out all of the energetics in higher levels before we can have it in the lower. And that it really came into my understanding more this last fall, when I first found Cassidy Kane's website. That really helped. I was kind of like, my soul was already starting to tell me these things, and I started recognizing that I have, I was like, well, if I have this connection, I know that we're really connected. And I had an example in somebody I met in my life who, like, just by him thinking thoughts could, it affect me physically, like, from far away. That was a really weird experience for me. And so I, from that aspect, I was like, okay, so there's some people who have this kind of gift, and there's connections other than, what we can see in the physical. And so if I'm, this energetic aspect of me, that this other soul is my twin flame, that we have this kind of connection. So I started putting those things together, and then I landed on her site, and I was like, okay, this all just really makes sense. It resonated. And so I understood that. And when I really came into that, at that point, I had always mostly been focused on just physical reunion. I want to reunite in the physical. And I think that, that's, natural. That was the beginning steps. We're 3-dimensional people who've been born on this planet with amnesia of, for most of us, who we really are. And it's been that process of awakening. And through that process of awakening, we grow into our own power. So I began to understand it then. And yet, and so I started focusing more on, through the intention of my heart and feeling him energetically and making that connection. And I realized that was really why, in a large extent, why we'd been held apart, was that until I came to the understanding that we needed to connect on the higher planes, that, before we could come together in the physical. And yet it took me a lot longer. You always think like, oh, I've cleared, I'm understanding it more. And yet every cycle, especially around, full moons, new moons, eclipses, huge times for shifts. And as I went through that process, began more and more to just start focusing on the as above and then so below. So for those of you who maybe are earlier on in your journey of this twin flame awakening journey, have faith in that and really focus on that. Just, I think that trusting in that allows you to let go of the energy that you've been projecting. At least this is how I did, so much energy I projected toward wanting to be with him and pushing for that. And, I was pretty disciplined about not, over texting him and messaging him too much and everything. But even when I did, and mainly because when I did, he would mostly not answer. And so, I'd do the 1 or 2 messages and then stop and wait. And, 2-3 weeks would go by or whatever. And then I'd finally hear from him. But with that focus of wanting to be united in the physical, there's a paradox with that, because that desire for reunion is what has driven us to accelerate through this process of awakening, has brought it on. But we also have to be careful, because that same energy, if we give that our focus, then we'll continue to be pushing away. And it's step by step, and you'll have times when you come back through again. And for me, it mostly happens when I stop trusting my heart. If I get into a mental space of what anybody else would, recommend me to do in the situation, or how anybody else would judge the situation, and then, I would myself start looking at it that way and questioning, what is this? And maybe I've been wrong all along. That going into that head space instead of being in the heart and the trust would then get me back into an anxiety, anxiousness, that then would, have me more focused on the physical and desiring and wanting it and needing it now, and why hasn't it happened? So, one of the things that I believe happens is that our twins literally have, as we've had that energy of desiring and wanting, and they have the same desire, but in the fact that there has to be separation in order for the growth to take place and for the clearing to take place. It's something that's just, it is a fact of this journey. And as long as you're not energetically aligned with what it takes to be together, one of you is going to, pull away when the other one is pushing, or vice versa. I know some, twins have experienced it happening back and forth. But anyway, like I was saying, I feel like they've barricaded themselves behind self-made walls that protect them from the merge, which is pulling them as hard as it is pulling you. And so they'll do that by, they're really significant walls. It's like by getting themselves into a karmic relationship and then entrenching in it. And, many of our twins are far distances from us, not in all cases, but, they'll retreat to a physical distance. My twin would always just be like, it's just the distance. I mean, if you lived near me, I would love to date you. It was just, there was so much attraction there. He felt it too. And then he barricaded himself, it's just the distance. And then I'm like, well, distance is nothing. And, you know, especially when you're a pilot, you can fly anywhere you want, you know, for free. And you have the money to go places. I'm not afraid of distance. Or then it was, you know, well then, you know, he's getting himself into relationships. And I actually have an odd feeling that he's telling me that he's still with his girlfriend. And I don't think they are. I really feel like they've separated, and which is, it's fine. I've really come to that point where over this last full moon, I released that to such a degree that I'm, you know, like I just know we'll come together when the time is right. So as long as we are still holding on to those energetics though of wanting, desiring, and pushing and focusing on that, then that's going to keep them behind those barricades, because those barricades are for our protection, for both of the twins. Like that's supposed to happen so that you can have the chance and the opportunity to fully awaken and come into your own power. I look back on it now and the transformation has taken place in my life in 2 years' time. It's just unbelievable. But even in the 1 year since a year ago, right at this time when he called me up and said, I've got your city on my schedule 3 times in May. And, you know, we were just like set to see each other, and I was so excited. And then it turns out that very weirdly, his schedule completely got changed, and they sent him to Europe instead. And then after that, he never got Spokane on his schedule again. And then in the fall, the airline changed which planes come to my city. So now his airplane doesn't even fly here anymore. And I'd always been like, it's such a miracle, you know, that this was going to be a door that would open up, and now it's just totally shut. So that was a challenge for me. But I know also that the distance and separation has nothing at all to do with the ability or the inability of the universe to bring it together and make it happen. When it is time, it will happen. So, you know, really working at getting every time that you can into the space of not, you know, engaging in that pushing or the pulling. And I know that for myself, the most recent shift, and it's every time it's like deeper and more, you know, like clear. It happened for me just before the full moon of Scorpio, and then I feel like I was activated in that time, because I have never in my life experienced anything, you know, quite that kind of a drastic shift since my awakening during that time frame. And here's what came to me in regards to that. I feel like that, and I kind of touched on this in one of my other videos as well, so forgive me, but I've had some more insights on it as well. I feel like because we have been retemplating the way relationships go, we've been retemplating how people interact in order to, you know, be able to bring in pure, divine, unconditional love, which, as you know, unconditional love has no expectation, has no demands, has no, you know, there's no push or pull. There's no like, if you do this, then I expect this from you because I did this, and then you know, I expect this from you, or, you know, if you do this, then I will do this. There's none of that. None. It's so different from how any other relationships have ever gone. Issues like jealousy, which, you know, that's his big thing. He cannot stand being with a jealous person, and he's with a very jealous, you know, his girlfriend, or if they're still together, she's a very jealous person. And, you know, he's not doing well with that. Doesn't like to be tied down, that feeling of being tied down. And so, like, I know for myself, I experienced the same things. My ex was you know, very, very jealous person, and I was just dying inside because of that. And I wasn't allowing myself to just live. I wasn't standing in my own power. And now that I'm free, I can never imagine being in a relationship again. That's a normal kind of, you know, that you feel that same way with, you're dating somebody so they kind of own you. Like, that's not going to be the way at all. We're templating it so differently. And so coming into our strength and being so strong in that on our own. If he and I had come together and we'd had a relationship, none of that would have ever happened. It's impossible to have grown into the kinds of beings that we are as twins, as twin flames on this journey. That is what we came to do. So we've been in the process for me for the last 2 years of retemplating what our relationship would stand on, what my life, even like the platform that my life is on, and which is based on, you know, my thoughts, my feelings, my attitudes, you know, at the core level of what what I understand. And that really is just your essence, your divine essence is what's created that. As you've plowed away, it's like, it's been there all along, but you just had to like, you know, be like an excavator, and you're just, you know, getting rid of all the crap and everything that was in the way. You just keep excavating and excavating, and now it's clean. And so that's like, that's a new template. And as you've done that for yourself, you've done it for your twin as well. And they may not be conscious of it and understand it, but it's still there. And so all of the stuff that gave them traction before, the old karmic patterns, the you know, old ways of dealing with relationships and situations, their old reactions, everything about the old is, there's no base for it anymore. And they may still have they may still be doing it in the old way. So they're just out of habit, they're doing it in the old way, but they're not going to get traction anymore because you've cleaned it all out. You've made new templates for operating on, and pretty soon, even if they're still, you know, stuck in a karmic situation with a karmic soulmate, that is going to be cleared out really soon, because they don't have traction for what you've cleared it all out. There's nothing left. It kind of reminds me of like the Bugs Bunny and Roadrunner kind of movie, you know, cartoons, where if they're running along coming toward a cliff and they're just going super, super fast, and they run right off the cliff and they keep going in the air until they suddenly realize that there's nothing underneath them, and then they fall straight down. That's what it's going to be like with our twins, in that, you know, we did all the clearing, and then I feel like the activations that happened in April were about anchoring that in and just like, you know, fixing it, and then, you know, locking us into that so that they can't go back to the old way of doing things anymore. And they're still doing it right now, but it's not going to be much longer until they're suddenly just going to be like, oh, wait a minute, this is not even happening. I'm like out here in the middle of the air, and boom, down they go into, you know, into the area that we've cleared out for them to operate in a new way. And it's also kind of like, I picture it in like wheels of a you know, of a truck or something, and you know, with the big knobby traction. And that's what has been able to, you know, propel them forward in the past. They were always able to dig into the old karmic patterns and everything, but now those wheels are completely worn smooth, and everything that they dug into before is totally smooth too. And so they would just be spinning their wheels if they kept on trying to get, you know, operate in that same way. They have to literally shift into a new way of living and operating. And so they will. And I think that's what, you know, the universe has done for us in these times of this shift in April. From the things that I just feel on a core level, this is what that, you know, that huge amount of help has come in for us to do. I'm super excited. I was talking to Scott from Twin Flames Unite 1111, Scott and Cece, and I was talking to him the other night and telling him about some of these thoughts, and then asking him, you know, really what were the activations about. I just hear people talking about it a lot, and I kind of have my own thoughts and feelings on it, but he's going to be having somebody on his channel this week on Friday, AJ, and we'll be talking about that. Super excited to hear about what his thoughts are in that regard. So I encourage you to take a, you know, watch that. I'll be definitely on watching for that as well. So that's it for right now. I have some other things I want to share that I'll do in my next post about our connection to Source and our guides and our higher self, our twins' higher self, and especially because I want to share about it because I am not one of those people that have had lots of dreams or lots of clairaudience or clairvoyance kinds of things. But my gift is claircognizance, and I've been that way my whole life. And the thing, I was talking also about this to Scott because he's the same way, that the biggest struggle about that gift is that it's just knowing, and you have to overcome everything that you've been conditioned in your life to do to just trust that knowing. And, you know, there'll be times when maybe you were a little bit off on something, and then you look at that and you're like, well, how can I trust myself if I thought that then, and then it didn't turn out to be the case. And so, you know, it's been an interesting challenge for me. Thankfully, the universe has come through with enough super clear things that there was no way in the world I could ever deny that I'm, you know, other things are coming through other than just the claircognizance, which has really helped. But I do want to talk about that because I think there might be some of you who resonate with that. Those of you who have gifts that, you know, you hear things, you see things, and you know, have so much of a stronger connection with spirit, the veil is thinner for you. I am so thankful for those of you who have those gifts, because you have a lot to share with those of us who our gifts are maybe not so obvious and so keen. but I do want to share about that, so that'll be in my next video. And until then, I hope you guys all have a great afternoon and evening. And also, just to remind you, I am just offering a special introductory price, $20 for a reading. I do want to have a little bit of information from you. I'd like to know your birth date and the birth date of your twin, because I get the your soul number from that, and when I'm doing my card readings, the soul number, it really helps me. It pops out. And then if there's any other specific areas, questions that you have, you can email me. My email is below in the comments here, and also on my channel. So check out the email and address. Email me if you want a reading, and we just pay it by PayPal. I'll make it through a video and upload it to YouTube in a private upload, and then give you the link for that. So I'm gonna try that for a little while here, and yeah, hit me up if you're interested in one of those. And love and light to all of you. Bye.